Hello. Nigerian students across the nation are back to school. But what appears more important to consider now is their safety. And that's our concern tonight on your weekend companion, the Weekend File. Good evening and welcome to the place to be on a Saturday evening. School as center for learning should be a place that is safe, secure and peaceful, because no child can succeed academically if he or she doesn't feel safe. Recent developments in the country where schools have now become targets for kidnappers is a serious source of concern. The incidents of such attacks on schools have raised a number of issues bordering on non-adherence to the guidelines for preventing violence in schools, attention to the perimeter security, access control issues, and other professional security measures. Now that it is clear that schools are no longer exempted from the unabated threats such as violence, kidnapping, rape, bullying, banditry, and of course abuse of sorts. This also brings us to the issue of whether schools and parents and of course the students are being up to their responsibilities. Of course, there are mechanisms such as security camera, metal detectors, including physical security for access control. What about parents, students, and school authorities' responsibilities? Experts believe that being able to monitor students' activities is essential to keeping them safe and secure. Join us as we examine the possibilities of putting certain security measures in place in schools to keep students and staff safe and secure during and after school hours. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Kirin Umayo. The news is next. When the political tension in the Gambia was at its peak, Nigerian business owners in the Gambia were on the edge as to the possibility of losing their investments, said to worth millions of dollars. Makud Simon Macham in this report tells us of the relief that Nigerian and ECOWAS intervention brought to them.
Chief Ndubuisi Ugu is a Nigerian businessman based in Banjul, the Gambia, and has been in the country for over 28 years. He is married to a Gambian and with children. Ndubuisi, like many Nigerians, owns several businesses and was apprehensive of what would have happened if the political crisis in the country was not resolved peacefully.
Because most of us has our residents built houses here, our business that have existed for decades, and virtually had nothing back home in Nigeria.
ECOWAS, led by Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, is such a great relief to people like Ndubuisi and the Nigerian community at large.
And we are proud to say that our people, Nigerian government, they came here and they proved themselves that they are Nigeria. They are government of Nigeria.
The head of mission at the Nigerian embassy in Banjul, Mansour Abdul Karim Mambila, says the future is bright for Nigerian businesses.
From now on, Nigerian businesses will flourish.
For now, businessmen like Ndubuisi will continue to engage in lawful businesses in the Gambia and tap into the new economic blueprint of the Barrow administration. From Banjul in the Gambia, I am Makud Simon Macham, NTA News.
And the quest for the peace and security portfolio of the African Union Commission is in tandem with the policy thrust of the Buhari administration in Nigeria. This is why the federal government has set up a high-powered committee to do the legwork for Nigeria's candidate for the plum job at the African Union. Omini Oden tells us more.
Kyari Mohammed is from Borno State, northeast Nigeria, with more than 10 years working experience with the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and its institutions in different capacities with focus on peace and security, regional integration, and organizational development. Her concept of peace and security requires everyone, including established institutions, to promote interdependency and shared future built on an inclusive and people-centered approach as an essential part of prevention and transformation.
It is less about competition and more about taking the relay and continuing with the process.
Fatima Kyari Mohammed says What matters most is the fact that she will make the difference as Commissioner in charge of Peace and Security Commission at the African Union.
Change would be bringing in this paradigm shift, changing the approach, ensuring that we strengthen the nexus between peace and development, because
Contenders for the office at the African Union are Algeria, Botswana, Mauritania and Burundi. The election holds on Monday during the 28th session of the African Union Assembly of Heads of State and Government, which is presided by the Meeting of Permanent Representatives and Council of Foreign Affairs Ministers. Omini Udan, NTA News.
Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed says the federal government will put in place mechanisms that will curtail nonchalant attitude and mismanagement in governance. He spoke to newsmen after an assessment tour of the rehabilitation work in some portions of the National Theatre. Anthony Forson was there for us.
The National Theatre for some time has been allowed to decay with its facilities broken down. The edifice, which stood as a pride of the nation, became an eyesore. Coming to the rescue of the National Theatre, Lagos State government, in an agreement with the federal government, is rehabilitating 2 cinema halls, the banquet hall and the exhibition lobby. The minister, in company of the general manager, National Theatre, representative of the Lagos State government, the contractor handling the project, and seasoned members of the theatre industry went round to have a first-hand appreciation of the work done so far, and along the line made inputs on how to come up with a world-class facility. The minister, however, expressed displeasure with the level of decay, saying such attitude is unacceptable.
We must have the courage to discipline and punish those who have erred. In other countries, why things work is that people are punished when they err and people are rewarded when they do well. And we must imbibe this culture. I want to assure Nigerians that it can be business as usual, and we will simply not allow National Theatre to degenerate to the level we met it.
Nigeria can work again. And this government has been doing everything to make sure that all aspects of Nigeria works. The theatre is part of Nigeria.
The Lagos State government is undertaking the rehabilitation work to serve as venues for events lined up to celebrate Lagos at 50. In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
The federal government has approved $1.2 billion for the execution of Kano-Kaduna Rail Project. Minister of Transport Rotimi Amechi said this when he called on Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje in Kano. Abdullahi Mustafa has the report.
Kano is one of the major points along the Nigeria's Western Rail Line. It started operation more than 100 years ago. Considering the strategic importance of Kano, especially its economic fortunes, the modernization project between Kano and Kaduna will take off in June this year. Minister of Transport Rotimi Amechi, who disclosed this to Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, said the project is to gulp $1.2 billion. Mr. Amechi, who commended the Kano State government's light rail initiative, also announced that more locomotives will be introduced to the existing narrow gauge lines to enhance railway services.
We are trying to bring in about 100 locomotives to run between Lagos, Kano to Funtua and Port Harcourt up to Gombe.
Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje thanked the federal government for the railway modernization project, saying the initiative will minimize road traffic accidents along the ever-busy Kano-Kaduna highway.
Because what is happening now, the government is spending a lot of money on putting our roads in good shape, but within 6 months' time, you find that our roads are bad again.
In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
Senate Committee on Privatization says that there is the need for further review, increase in electricity tariff, and provision of electricity intervention fund in subsidy for operations. It was during their oversight visit to the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Organization or Commission in Abuja. National Assembly correspondent Ifeanyi Zumba reports.
The electricity sector struggling for liquidity despite consecutive tariff increases in the past 2 years. Operators have been pushing for another tariff increase to boost their revenue. Chairman of the Senate committee said it is important for the sector to record improvement with the enormous finances invested in it.
We need a solution to the problem that, one, does not deal with the federal government making 1 trillion naira available just to clear the debt and who knows what you need in the future, and 2, increasing rates by 200-300%, where we as politicians, I can never recommend that to the poor folks who have not had a salary increase in 5 years, who can barely survive, who can barely eat, who can barely send their kids to school.
Acting Chairman, NERC, Anthony Aka said, without appropriate tariff, the federal government will have to come out with a subsidy plan for the power sector.
We have set up all the panels. We have the local content panel. We have the decision pool panel. We have all types of panels that are necessary for us to have a healthy electricity market-driven sector.
Committee members also expressed worry over what they consider as the monopolistic nature of operators in the sector, noting that there is need to create competitive environment for interested investors. Ifani Ezumba, NTA News.
With over 90% release of the 2016 budget to the Transmission Company of Nigeria, major projects will be completed to increase power generation and system upgrade, bearing in mind the major drop of power supply across the country. Managing Director of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, Dr. Abubakar Atiku, said this at the second management retreat of the company in Abuja. Mayor Ogidi tells us more.
How is the power situation in your area?
In my area, there's no light. The power situation is bad.
Yes, I must admit that the last 2 weeks has not been a good experience for us in the power sector.
This the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, says it's not as a result of lapses on its part, but shortage in gas supply to the plants.
And if we are generating below 3,500, we in the transmission, we cannot guarantee stable grid. Any turbulence can destabilize the grid and make it to collapse.
At the second management retreat, TCN resolved not to rest on its oars in upgrading transmission lines, substations, and expanding solar as well as hydropower sources.
And with the signing of PPAs with the 14 solar companies, it is expected by the end of this year we will get a minimum of 1,000 megawatts from those ventures. We have small mini hydros in Kashimbila, Dadenkowa, Gurara. They are all due for commissioning hopefully before the end of this year.
Autonomy for TCN regional offices to operate effectively, how to reduce load shedding, complete evacuation of stranded power, and transparency in management of funds were also discussed at the retreat. Meanwhile, an award of transparency has been conferred on the Managing Director of TCN, Abubakar Atiku, by the Institute for Leadership and Economic Development. The award was as a result of the Managing Director's stand on prudent management of funds, sincerity in project execution, and welfare for TCN staff. Mayor Ogidi, NTA News.
The federal government has destroyed 11 trucks of fake pharmaceuticals and other regulated products valued at 9.317 billion naira in Port Harcourt, River State. The destruction exercise, which took place at the state dump site located in Igurita, was presided over by the Minister of Health, members of the legislature, and the acting Director General of NAFDAC, Yetunde Oni. Health correspondent Rabi Abdallah was there and now reports.
Pharmaceuticals and unwholesome products destroyed include commonly used drugs such as painkillers, antibiotics, food supplements, and other regulated products.
You are looking at drugs that pregnant women take when they've delivered, and you are looking at other things there for diarrhea. One of them I try to look at has a concentration that is 3 times the normal concentration. Do not go out to buy products without a prescription.
We are not looking at how much it costs, those who brought it or those who manufactured them, but we are bothered, careful to ensure that Nigerians are safe.
The seizure of the destroyed harmful products was attributed to adequate surveillance and effective partnership between NAFDAC and the Nigerian Customs Service.
The agency has taken a proactive approach towards fighting this menace.
Local pharmaceutical companies are being encouraged by NAFDAC to work towards attaining WHO pre-qualification.
From the dump site, the health minister proceeded to the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital, where he held an interactive session with the management of the hospital on the challenges it is facing and how to run it more effectively. Rabi Abdullah, NTA News.
A call is being made for support to the Nigerian government to help aid education in the Northeast, address malnutrition, and promote the well-being of the vulnerable. This call by Save the Children, an international non-governmental organization, is part of efforts to assist in bringing about a stable future in the region. Their submission was at a press briefing on conflict and hunger in Northeast Nigeria. Aisha Ubali was there for NTA News.
The United Nations estimated that with 3 million children denied right to education, some 450,000 children will suffer acute malnutrition, with 300,000 in Borno State alone. Tove Wang from Norway is the chief executive of the Save the Children Norway. After spending days visiting Save the Children's humanitarian programs in Borno State, Tove, alongside the country director Ben Foot, are in Abuja, and their feedback to journalists is on the effect of the crisis and how children are missing out on education.
There are lots of internally displaced children that have no schooling opportunities. And I think we have come to a point where it's possible to increase the capacity, and the governments were also that they wanted to ramp up and get more children into school. The food and nutrition situation is worrying.
We really are looking to donor governments to step up and to provide additional funding to really try and tackle the issues, the gaps.
Beyond its current scope of work, Save the Children is also engaging in informal education and skills acquisition in Nigeria. For Tove Wang and Ben Foot, this will not only bring the immediate benefit of empowering children, but is the best investment in Nigeria's development. In Abuja, Aisha Oba Ali, NTA News.
The Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, John Cardinal Onayeka, has admonished Christians not to allow challenges stop them from doing good and to be more generous with God's work. This was at the groundbreaking ceremony of the Papal Ground at the Christ the King Catholic Parish, Koboa. Ifeanyi Zumba tells us about it.
Thanking God for the growth of the church in the FCT during these past 30 years, especially the growth in the parishes, archdiocese, membership, and in the Christian witnesses of the people of God, Cardinal Onayeka said they are hoping in God to help them in their limitation, for the project is God's own, stressing that what God has started, He will help them bring it to completion.
Amen. The time has come for this project to take off after more than 30 years in preparation, and we do hope it will be finished quickly.
Cardinal Onayeka also said he is happy that this day has finally come and prayed that the nation will grow and move faster towards prosperity, peace, and harmony. In Abuja, Ifeanyi Zumba, NTA News.
A new Executive Council of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, Federal Capital Territory Chapter, has been inaugurated. The new team has been charged to work together in fostering peace and unity, not only in the body of Christ, but in the country, as well as other areas of human endeavor. Chimdi Mandibisi brings us details.
Every 3 years, the Christian Association of Nigeria FCT chapter changes its leadership through an electoral process. This time around, the mantle of leadership fell on Reverend Dr. Jonah Sampson and 9 others, with Mrs. Bola Ihesulo heading the women's wing. At a ceremony to change baton of leadership, the new Executive Council members were tasked to emulate leadership qualities of the biblical Moses and have a shared vision, pray fervently, as well as improve means of propagating the gospel.
Hereby formally inaugurate them as the Executive Committee of the Christian Association of the Federal Capital Territory.
Let them reflect who God is, the character of God. God is holy, God is love, God is merciful.
For the new team, the inauguration is a call for action.
To see that there's development
So not only developing the Christian Association of Nigeria, but the people we are leading should be able to enjoy, the dividends of democracy. Either Christians or Muslims, we must learn to live in peace with one another.
Women, we are going to come together and empower them. Even the government too, we are going to appeal to government to assist us so that women will be empowered.
Representative of Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mrs. Nonye Obi, conveyed the minister's hope that the new team will always pray for the nation and positively impact the society. In Abuja, Chimdima Ndubisi, NTA News.
We thank you for staying with us up to this moment on the program. You can also watch this news live online via the NTA mobile app, which you can download on your Android device at the Google Play Store or at the Apple Store if you use devices with iOS. And this is Weekend File. Protection of the teaching and learning environment is of paramount importance to parents, government, and society as a whole. Since the attack on schools in Budi, Yadi in Yobe State and Chibok in Borno State, leading to the killing and abduction of students in 2014, the need to keep Nigerian schools safe have now been on the front burner in recent times. And of course, the recent abductions and kidnappings has put school officials and administrators on their toes, demonstrating that safety in Nigerian schools must no longer be treated as a luxury, but as necessity. Stay with us for a closer look after the break.
This is a happy moment for me and for all Nigerians.
Amina Ali Nkeke, the first Chibok schoolgirl to be rescued in the renewed onslaught against the Boko Haram insurgency.
Amina's rescue gives us new hope.
Federal government has formally received the 21 abducted Chibok girls.
These dear daughters of ours have seen the worst that the world has to offer. It is now time for them to experience the best that the world can do for them. Government will sustain the effort until all the remaining girls return safely.
Hello? Welcome to the M6 Challenge. Using your new Gioni M6, carry out everything on that list, starting now. Get to the door. Congratulations, you have passed the test.
Gioni M6 with a 5,000 milliampere battery that lets you go on for 2 days on a single charge.
Gioni M6, always in power.
Whenever pain occurs, you want quick relief. Try new Nurofen Express. It goes to the source of pain and gets to work in under 15 minutes. That's why Nurofen Express delivers fast and effective relief. New Nurofen Express works at the source of pain, fast.
Being a mom is great, but when your child has a fever, you don't know what to do. I trust Nurofen for Children to take care of my child's pain and fever.
Effective relief you can trust.
Pump up the jam, pump it up while your feet are stomping and the jam is pumping. Look ahead, the crowd is jumping. Pump up the jam and push up your hand. You know, say me fans, they plenty like sun. Jump up and dance, make them understand. Say me energy could have never be contraband. Them say me hype and excited because no boy can't hype like me. All of my fans, them invited.
The federal government's social investment program has begun.
The poorest and most vulnerable in the land get 5,000 naira monthly, and phase 1 has started in 9 states of the federation. 200,000 unemployed graduates have been engaged in the NPower Volunteer Corps, designed to engage 500,000 people. 5.5 million children will be fed regularly in the homegrown school feeding program, which kicked off in 3 states last year, with 9 more to be added this year. And under the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, GEEP, thousands of cooperatives, market women, farmers, and enterprising youth have been receiving between 10,000 and 100,000 naira soft loans since November 2016. The Social Investment Program has begun. It can only get better. We promise change. Change is here.
Do you crave class? Do you have taste? And do you care about comfort? If you do, then for your next event, a stay away from home, a business trip, or a holiday, visit Jade's Hotel at 24 Undola Crescent, Wuse Zone 5, Abuja. Check out our world-class services, exquisite suites, restaurant and bar, gymnasium, spa and grills, and our outdoor catering services and cuisines. At Jade's, it can only be better. For bookings and reservations, visit us today at 24 Undola Crescent, Wuse Zone 5, Abuja, or visit www.jadeshotels.com. Our email address is info@jadeshotels.com. You can also call us on 09291-9321 or 0810-909-7956. Jade's Hotels. Welcome to life.
The Future Assured project and its components Get Involved, initiated by the wife of the President, Her Excellency Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, is not relenting in championing the cause of Nigerian women and children. Its provision of free medical screening, educational support, and the fight against malnutrition, especially in the Northeast, has indeed informed international recognition, partnerships, and awards.
We are very grateful and appreciative for your wonderful gesture you have accorded to us.
With Future Assured, Nigerian women and children are assured of a bright future.
Future is assured when we join hands to promote the health of our women and children. Get involved.
Get involved and support the Future Assured initiative. Future Assured, promoting and protecting the lives of Nigerian women and children.
You are watching Weekend File on the network service of the NTA. A safe, peaceful, and conducive environment facilitates teaching and learning. In recent times, however, the rising incidents of violent and kidnapping attacks on schools by criminals have raised questions on how safe and secure the schools really are for learning. Jane Ojukwu takes a look at what measures are being taken to ensure safety and security in schools.
Stakeholders. In the past 3 months, not less than 3 schools in Lagos and its neighboring Ogun State have been attacked by gunmen, while students and staff of the affected schools were abducted with ransom placed on them. It took concerted efforts of the police and other security agencies to rescue the victims on each occasion, after huge amounts were purportedly paid in ransom. Over 14 people have been victims. This ugly development, if unchecked, observers say, poses a threat to the rights of Nigerian child to education.
Those schools that are very close to where we consider to be very, black spot and very vulnerable, we're going to work closely with those people, and whatever support that they want, we're going to give it to them. Many private and public schools have risen to the occasion by taking proactive steps to ensure safety and security in their schools.
Our fence all around is closely monitored, and also we have beginning to install barbed wires. We are collaborating with the police.
We're working on CCTV in all the major places in the school. In addition to the neighborhood watch that was given to us by the government, and if anybody is to come in must sign the register.
Unfortunately, some schools don't seem to see the need to beef up security in their environment. Stakeholders advocate an all-inclusive security measures in all schools.
Security is a collective responsibility of every citizen. We should not commit it into the hand of government alone.
It would be recalled that the federal government, in collaboration with the United Nations Special Envoy for Global Education, launched Safe Schools Initiative in Nigeria in 2014, in the wake of the abduction of over 200 girls from a boarding school in Chibok, Borno State. $20 million was raised as the initial capital for the $100 million project, which seeks to provide emergency relief, reconstruction, and rehabilitation of affected schools, particularly the volatile and educationally disadvantaged states of Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa. In Lagos, Jane Ujuku, NTA News.
Thank you, Jane, for that background report. The Nigerian police have reassured Nigerians of their safety. Deputy Force Public Relations Officer CSP Jimo Mushood said this at the Force Headquarters, Abuja, while parading 4 suspected kidnappers of 5 students and 3 staff of Turkish College in Isheri, Ogun State, early this month. Edina Justice has that report.
CSP Mushood said the arrest of the 3 suspects, including one Totki Okoda, who lived in the fishermen's community behind the school that served as an informant to the gang, led to the arrest of others in different locations in Delta, Ogun, and Lagos states.
This is my first time. Arrest of Bekiwe Agbujule, a.k.a. Prince Yellow, the principal suspect. The suspect, who is an Ijoman from Aruguta in Ondo State, was arrested after he came out of the creek to enjoy his loot. 1,200,000 naira, his share of the ransom money, was recovered from him. The 4 suspects confessed to the crime. They were identified by the victims, and the volunteer useful statement to the investigator and are now cooperating with the police.
He assured Nigerians that police will work to prevent crime, eliminate fear of crime, and guarantees security of lives and property across the country.
The police will equally ensure that those crimes that cannot be prevented are promptly detected, perpetrators prosecuted to serve as deterrent to prospective criminals.
It was reported that on the 13th of this month, suspected kidnappers bore hole on the fence of Turkish College in Isheri, Ogun State, and abducted 8 people. Police say it is on the trail of the remaining gang members who are still at large. From the Force Headquarters, Edina Justice, NTA News.
And from Kano, Fatima Sanusi Karaye reports on efforts to ensure adequate security and conducive environment in schools in Kano.
One of the most populous states has about 15 tertiary institutions and considerable number of secondary and primary schools. Among the tertiary institutions is Bayero University, which in April 2012 suffered a violent attack. This highlights the need for the university to keep security issues under review.
Don't leave the security of this campus to the management or to some exclusive entity, the security unit. No, each and every one of us is actually part and parcel of the effort.
On their parts, principals of St. Leo's and St. Thomas secondary schools say they are working with security agents to conduct background checks on teachers and non-teaching staff.
God first, and we make the contributions we need to make sure that security is one of the activities that we give prime place.
The primary cause of anxiety for many parents is protecting children from acts of violence at school.
Security alone will not be the ultimate, but we leave them in the hands of God.
While parents are calling on the state government to ensure effective security measures in public schools, as at the time of compiling this report, state government officials were unable to comment on this issue.
The best way to go about it is for the school authorities to really collaborate with the security agencies in addition to the security arrangement they have on the ground.
In Kano, Fatima Sanusi Arai, NTA News.
Bem Hanya updates us with the situation in Benue State.
Times, Benue State has had its share of men of the underworld abducting its residents, both old and young, for ransom or ritual purposes. Although none of the schools in the state has been attacked, government, security operatives, and school administrators are not resting on their oars to ensure that no incident is recorded in any of the schools. For instance, most schools within the urban areas have perimeter fences to check the influx of people into their premises. However, the same cannot be said of most schools located in the rural areas, as they lack perimeter fences and as a result do not restrict access of people into their premises.
The administrators of schools, in collaboration with the State Security Service and other law enforcement agents, they should work together.
Crime is a changing phenomenon, and once it does change like that, you identify how you can be proactive about it.
Parents and administrators of schools have advocated the use of trained security personnel in schools, as well as the inculcation of knowledge about security to pupils and students to be vigilant.
Security matters are not providing job opportunities for people. We need qualified people to get it done.
The principals have to give this moral advice to the students to be watchful to see what normally happens within.
They are of the opinion that security is the business of all. In Makudi, Bem Hanya, NTA News.
Thank you, Bem. Our discussion segment comes next, right after the break. Hey, Coca-Cola?
Oh, you're in luck. It's happy hour. So, you want a free Coca-Cola, but you have to drink it here.
Does your antiseptic liquid kill the germs that cause flu, diarrhea, typhoid? Dettol does. Dettol provides 10 times more protection versus leading competition. So why take a risk with your loved ones?
This is not just a pitch. This is not just another kid. This is where I found my inspiration. This is where I learned I can stand on my own. But that together, we can fly. This is the school of life. This is where champions are made.
Nestle, good food, good life.
Hello? Welcome to the M6 Challenge. Using your new Gioni M6, carry out everything on that list. Starting now. Get to the door. Congratulations, you have passed the test.
Gioni M6 with a 5,000 milliampere battery that lets you go on for 2 days on a single charge.
Gioni M6, always in power.
I'm bulletproof, nothing to lose. Far away, far away. Shoot me down.
Stay closer for longer.
12 hours of fresh breath with close-up deep action. Nigeria's #1 toothpaste, now in a new look.
And you're welcome back. My guest tonight is Mr. Sylvester Onoja, an educationist and former principal of King's College, Lagos. Mr. Onoja, you're welcome to Weekend File.
My pleasure to be here.
Yes, you have been a principal of such a famous school, so security of school should be well known to you. Let's start by asking you to tell us the requirements for safety in an average school, because I understand that school authorities are legally bound to protect their students.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Yes, all the children that come to school, or the students that come to school, are the responsibility of those in charge of that school. There's no doubt about that. I have been a teacher for many years. And the greatest weapon we have used is the classroom. These kidnappers, where are they coming from? They probably were students before. They were in school. Many years ago, we didn't have this kind of situation because the quality of teaching and the quality of parents we had made it possible. I mean, that students who come to school are properly brought up. There's that collaboration between the school and the parents and the community. Today, that collaboration is lacking. Most parents have no time for their children. Their children don't know them. They don't know what they stand for. Some parents really are only interested in the material security of their children. They care about the money they make. They care about the future, material future of what they have for their children. But they really don't pay any attention to the moral aspect of education. They are not educating their children in a way that is honorable. There are some parents too who do not show good example at home. And there are parents who do not know their own children. They have no time for them. They are strangers in the house. When they come back home at night, the children are sleeping. When they leave home in the morning, the children are still sleeping, or probably would have gone to school.
All right, are we blaming this?
I'm blaming that, you see, the way we brought up our children is what is responsible. The kidnappers are people who passed through school before. Why was what is happening was not there 20 years ago. It was not there 30 years ago. It's a new phenomenon. We take the security of the students for granted because there's collaboration between the school and the parents and the people of the community.
Now let's talk about the responsibility of the school authorities. What are they supposed to do on their own part?
Well, on the part we have, the school has the responsibility for the safety of the students. The school had in place prefects. The school has a compound master. The school has house masters. The school has some security men to make sure that the students don't move, during the school period, are occupied. But for now, the boundaries that students respected were the boundaries that you can see. They're not walls. So there was that moral obligation on the part of the teachers to make sure that the job they were doing and supervising the students and making sure they do the right thing, but it was there.
You rightly said that in those days that we don't need to have this kind of attacks on schools. Now many things are evolving, and we have met this now in our time. So what would be the best response to this kind of situation? What should schools do to add up to what they have not been doing before with respect to like perimeter security, having physical security, or even applying some kind of technology like metal detectors and what have you? Because of course we are moving with time. What should schools do now?
I think we should go back to the basics. We are not going to turn our schools into some kind of fortresses, kind of prisons, walls, gadgets. No. We train students so that they appreciate, the values of society. We are dealing with people who have no respect for values. We are dealing with people that have not been properly brought up at home. These are the kidnappers, not just anything out. Well, you would say, okay, we have so many schools in this country. How many soldiers, how many policemen are you going to deploy to the schools to take care of those who are in school? How many of them? How many of these gadgets are you going to use? We have to go back to the basics, go back the responsibility of teachers, responsibility of parents, and the responsibility of the community. These are the people that will provide lasting solution to the security of the students in any given school. It's not the walls you build, it's not the gadgets you use that is going to solve this problem. We have to go back and take measures, emphasize on the cooperation with teachers and students and the community.
But now you brought in community. Let's talk about the role of a community where a school is located. As we saw in the case of the Turkish college, a resident of the neighborhood was part of the crime. Perhaps because of proximity, he was part of the crime. What could be done in that with respect to that? Involving the a community, a member of a community.
If you have community members, there are vigilante groups within the community. If you have members of the community and the school affects them directly, they should know what is happening. They should know those who come and those who go. But you see, if you want to use the example of the Turkish school, I don't know how much contact they have with the community. This is a school that is sited in that place. There's a difference between when you cite a school and when you establish a school. When you establish a school, the community is part of it. But this is an elite institution that has been brought, probably cited there, not established. The people who are within there have nothing directly with the institution. Maybe their own children are not even in that school. The members of the community are not in the school. So you don't expect that kind of collaboration between that kind of school and the school that is established by government or by voluntary agencies or by the community within that same community. So I think that we really need to go back to the basics. I know about the gadgets, I know about fencing, but how much money are we going to commit to fencing the schools that we have? How many policemen, how many gadgets are we going to deploy? We must try to tackle this problem from the root.
All right, now, since the abduction, of the Chibok girls in 2014, there was this Safe School initiative, which was kick-started at the time. We don't seem to be hearing anything about that now. Well, you were school principal when the going was good, if you like. Now there are so many schools. There's a proliferation of schools here and there, privately owned and publicly owned. And also the population is also growing. Crime is growing. They're applying different methods of crime. This is all about the new age. So what we're looking at now is what government could do to assist. After all said and done, the government is responsible for security of everybody. Now, what can government do, given the fact that the society is growing, the population is growing, crimes growing, different approaches and methods of crimes are on? Something has to be done. In your opinion, where can we start? Because going back to the basics means actually many of them graduates going back to school, to pass through the school, as you have been talking about.
Well, there are other people who have already, been affected by this, but you see, there's very little government can do. Government cannot do everything. We need to do things. What is happening now is because teachers, government, community have abandoned our responsibility to our young ones. There is not, we used to talk about child-centered education. The child is the most important person in education. Everybody is there for the child. Government is there for the child. The teacher is there for the child. The community is there for the child. The parents are there for the child. But these people are no longer there for the child. They are not there because they have no time The parents have abandoned their responsibility to their own children. The proper upbringing of children, parents don't have time to do it. They have left it to teachers who are not properly taken care of and therefore are not putting in their best. And then we have children, because of influence that has of society, have not also taken their studies seriously. So what we need to do is to go back to that collaboration between the teacher, the students, and the parents, and the community, so that people, the values will come back. Parents should be able to take care of their children, to show them the values of life, bring them up morally right, so that we can have, students that are in school and prepared to learn.
Let me ask you this question, because you've so much talked about the values and all of that, which are people, the young ones, didn't get right. But also in other in developed countries, we hear of attacks in schools, especially the U.S. with all their safety gadgets and all, of course, their security measures. Now, what should be the role of security agencies in Nigeria, given that mostly, it's a private security, there are private security outfits too that operate in Nigeria? Because as it is, there should be some form of security for these students. What should be the responsibility of security agencies and privately owned security operatives?
Well, I think that there should be collaboration between the established security outfits, the police, and all the other arms of security outfits of this country. There should be a collaboration between them and the schools and, of course, the community. Of course, there is the school management committee, and the security officers, the DPO and other, are members. So I think that, because of the sophistication of crime, it's taking us by surprise. It's taking us by surprise. We didn't expect that these things will come to school. What happened in Chibok was a war situation. That is not exactly, What is happening now is new. Yes, it's taking us by surprise. And we should actually work hard to make sure that there's a collaboration between the schools, the parents, the community, and the law enforcement agencies.
All right, thank you very much for being part of this discussion tonight. Thank you indeed, Mr. Sylvester Onoja, an educationist and former principal of the famous King's College, Lagos. Once again, it's good having you on the show tonight.
Thank you.
Stay with us for happenings in the world of sports and the weather outlook after this final message.
The production, distribution, and sale of counterfeit and fake drugs is a corrupt practice and a crime against humanity. This has informed several measures and strategies to combat fake drugs, including introduction of anti-counterfeiting cutting-edge technologies to detect fake drugs on the spot. These technologies are being deployed to all the states across the Federation, as well as the internally displaced people scams. The President, Muhammadu Buhari, and his team are committed to this fight.
The federal government of Nigeria, in line with its anti-corruption agenda and posture, will fight a total war against fake drugs and other unwholesome regulated products in order to ensure that Nigerians remain healthy and well.
Lend your support and join NAFDAC to rid the country of fake drugs and unwholesome regulated products. NAFDAC, safeguarding the health of the nation.
Okay, sir. You may now go in for your interview.
Thank you.
Ah, my shoe. And to think I just bought this very expensive foreign shoe 2 months ago.
So sorry about your shoes. This is why I advise my friends to always patronize made in Nigeria products. See this shoe. It's made in Nigeria, and I've had it for 2 years, and it's still as good as the day I bought it.
Made in Nigeria products are good quality, and stringent government regulations and certification now mean the goods made in Nigeria meet international standards. Make the patriotic choice today. Buy right. Buy Made in Nigeria.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Stallions of Burkina Faso became the first to qualify for the semi-finals of the African Cup of Nations after defeating Tunisia's Carthage Eagles by 2-0 in the first quarter-final fixture Saturday in Gabon. Kenema Bodike now brings us other stories on Sports Update.